1.3 million viewers. That's how many people tuned in to watch Caitlin Clark's WNBA preseason debut. Let that sink in. Not the season opener, not a playoff game, a preseason exhibition. That kind of number doesn't just raise eyebrows, it explodes expectations. It sent chills through the sports world. NHL executives started sweating, NBA preseason planners took notes, and within the WNBA, the old guard suddenly realized the playbook needed a rewrite. Because Caitlin Clark didn't just arrive, she kicked the door off its hinges. But not everyone is thrilled. In fact, one person in particular seemed absolutely livid. That's right, Angel Reese's mom. Her reaction? Not subtle. And her words? They've set off a firestorm of controversy that's still blazing. Let's unpack how one rookie just flipped women's basketball upside down, and why the backlash is telling us more than the game ever could. 1.3 million viewers for a WNBA preseason game. That number doesn't just break records, it breaks logic. Clark didn't just outperform the WNBA Finals opener from the previous year, she obliterated it. The NHL playoff games airing at the same time, left in the dust, NBA preseason matchups, outsold and outwatched. And this wasn't a sleepy ESPN 2 broadcast either. This was ESPN prime time, and the spotlight belonged entirely to Caitlin Clark. For years, women's basketball has fought for attention, but Clark's debut wasn't a request for attention, it was a command. And the message was received loud and clear. But while the numbers were climbing and fans were celebrating, something else was brewing online. A very different kind of noise. The stage for Clark's debut wasn't just symbolic, it was legendary. Carver Hawkeye Arena, her old college stomping grounds, the place where she made magic night after night, and this time, she returned not as a college phenom, but as the face of a professional franchise. Fans lined up for hours before tip-off. The arena sold out within 60 minutes of ticket release. The average ticket price, $650. Resale tickets, some hit $6 grand for a preseason game. In total, that night pulled in nearly $10 million in ticket revenue alone. Inside the arena, it wasn't just noise, it was pandemonium. A packed house of 15,000, goosebumps, tears, cheers so loud they shook the rafters. And outside, lines wrapped around the block as fans begged for any seat, any standing room, any glimpse. This wasn't a game, it was a coronation. But while the crowd cheered, someone else was typing. The moment Clark's game ended, the fireworks began. But not from the court. Angel Reese's mom hopped on Instagram and dropped a passive-aggressive post dripping with envy. She didn't name names, but she didn't have to. Everyone knew who the target was. She mocked fans celebrating attendance while claiming real glory came from championship banners. The tone, bitter. The subtext, crystal clear. Her daughter wasn't drawing crowds like this, and the world had noticed. This wasn't her first jab at Caitlin either. She's made veiled comments for months. But this post hit differently. It came in the direct aftermath of the most watched WNBA preseason game ever, and it felt less like criticism and more like a confession. Because if Clark is changing the game, that means someone else's moment is slipping away. When Clark walked back into Carver Hawkeye, something shifted. Fans weren't just there to watch, they were there to witness, to honor, to scream themselves hoarse in gratitude for everything she'd done and everything she still represents. She signed jerseys. She hugged old teammates. The crowd roared for every dribble. And the Brazilian national team? They lost big, but you wouldn't have known it by their smiles. They took selfies with Clark post-game, called her a role model, asked her to sign their jerseys. Because everyone in that arena knew they weren't just watching a player, they were watching the player. And with nearly $10 million in gate revenue, Carver became the center of the basketball universe. But even with all that noise, Clark herself said nothing. Not one tweet, not one interview trashing anyone. Just grace and buckets. 21 points. A step-back three from the logo. Total command of the floor. That was Clark's answer to the noise. While Reese's mom was throwing shade, Clark was throwing daggers from 36 feet out, and she made it look easy. She wasn't just scoring, she was controlling the game like a seasoned vet. She energized her teammates. She ran the offense. She let the play speak for her. Meanwhile, the internet exploded with memes, screenshots of Reese's mom's post, and debates about favoritism, but Clark? Silent. She doesn't have to defend herself, because the court does that for her. What Clark brings to the WNBA isn't just hype, it's economic power. Her jersey sold out within minutes. ESPN, CBS, and even international sports networks are scrambling for broadcast rights to her games. She has single-handedly turned the Indiana Fever from an overlooked franchise into the league's hottest ticket. Other teams? They're moving their games to larger arenas just to accommodate the crowds when Clark comes to town. Sponsorships are rolling in. Brands want her face, her story, her spark. And it's not just because she's good at basketball, it's because she represents hope. A future where women's basketball can sell out arenas and trend globally. Clark isn't just a baller, she's a business, and her presence is multiplying the value of the league. Clark versus Reese. It's the headline the media can't resist. Ever since the NCAA title game, complete with trash talk, finger pointing, and viral taunts, the storyline has stuck. Two alpha stars, supposedly on a collision course. But here's the thing. It's not a rivalry if one side is doing all the heavy lifting. Clark is drawing crowds, generating revenue, and leading her team. Reese, she's still a star, still talented, still popular on social media, but she's not moving the needle the way Clark is. And that difference is creating friction. The media pushes the rivalry because it sells, but fans, they're starting to see the gap, and it's growing. Let's not dodge the real issue here. Some critics say Clark's rise is a product of privilege, that she's celebrated for behaviors others were demonized for, that the media lifts her up while tearing others down. And yes, there's a conversation to be had about race, representation, and how narratives get shaped. But here's the thing, Clark's numbers don't lie. Her ratings, her ticket sales, her impact, it's all earned. She hasn't been handed anything. She's earned every cheer, every headline, every dollar. And yet, resentment simmers, because her success forces uncomfortable conversations about who gets celebrated and why. But if we're being honest, the jealousy says more about the critics than it does about Clark. Let's put it in black and white. The most watched WNBA preseason game in history? Clark. The highest ticket prices? Clark. The social media engagement? Clark. Compare that to Angel Reese's homecoming game. A fraction of the attendance, lower ratings, less buzz, and yet the narrative persists that popularity is all about marketing, that Clark is being pushed instead of pulled. But numbers? They don't lie. Fans are showing up. Networks are investing. Sponsors are betting big. And they're all betting on one name, Caitlin Clark. Here's what critics miss. Clark's success doesn't hurt the league. It helps it. More viewers mean more TV deals. More ticket sales mean more revenue, and that benefits everyone. Veteran players are seeing bumps in their own jersey sales. Teams are finally playing to full houses. Media coverage is spreading beyond niche sports outlets. And little girls everywhere, they're wearing number 22 and dreaming big. Clark is lifting the tide, and every ship in the WNBA is rising with it. But here's the risk. If the league lets tribalism take over, Clark fans versus Reese fans, old guard versus new face, then all this momentum could stall. Fans don't want social media drama. They want basketball. They want excellence. They want to be inspired. If bitterness overshadows brilliance, then the WNBA could waste the best opportunity it's ever had. The game is growing. The audience is watching. The stakes are higher than ever. And the drama, it's starting to look like a distraction. What really scares people about Clark? She's not just disrupting games. She's disrupting systems. The way the league markets itself. The way it distributes exposure, the way players rise to fame. Clark didn't wait for approval. She took it. She didn't ask for permission. She earned it. And now the traditional power structures are being forced to adapt. Because if the league wants to grow, it has to follow her lead. She's not just changing plays, she's changing priorities. This isn't just a debut, it's a movement. Caitlin Clark didn't stumble into fame. She chased it down, wrestled it into submission, and made it hers. And the impact? It's undeniable. Millions of new fans, record-breaking numbers, a league reborn. The question now isn't whether Clark is the future, it's whether the rest of the league is ready to grow with her, because she's not just redefining the game, she's rewriting the rules, and anyone not ready for that storm might want to get out of the way.